Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are doing our community share. This is the first time we're doing it live, so we thought it just might be a fun thing to do. Community shares are open for anyone who wants to join us. Today, we are with Annmarie Cantrell, and we are talking about Annmarie, what's the
So we're going to be talking about the Chinese 5 elements, which I'm going to explain, but really how it relates to how we are our own entrepreneurs and then how we relate to our business according to those 5 elements.
Awesome.
So it should be fun. Do I automatically get to share a screen do you have to put me in that mode?
Yep, I'm gonna make you a co-host. And we are going. So anyone that's watching along with us, you can, if you're on Zoom, you can write your questions or answer, questions or anything in the chat, and I can read them to Annmarie so everyone knows what they are. You will not be shown, but we can hear you. So you can do that. Anyone on Facebook, I will try to watch, but I can't always see everything that's live on Facebook. So go ahead, Annmarie, it's all yours.
Okay, well, hey, yeah, thank you so much. Can everybody see up on the screen there's like a little 5-element chart?
Yep.
Okay, so we are going to be talking about this today. So just a little bit about my background is I work with food and do nutrition education. And when I was in my nutrition culinary school, I learned about the Chinese 5 elements, which if anybody's ever gone for acupuncture or has worked with any Asian healings, Chinese medicine is thousands and thousands of years old. And really what they have done is made no difference between ourselves and any happening in the universe. So we are constantly in rhythm with things that are going on in the universe. And in Chinese medicine, they have broken this down into what they call the 5 elements. And for our sake here, I'm going to call them the 5 rhythms because our lives really flow into rhythms. But we are going to get into this. What we're going to talk about today is like introduction into the 5 rhythms, discovering how they impact you and your business, and how you can use them and understand your own kind of rhythm personality. So if you think of like ourselves, we're all made up of these rhythms, right? We breathe, our heart beats, we have circadian rhythms, we go to bed, we wake up at different cycles. So those are our rhythms. And then nature has rhythms, right? And right now we're finding ourselves in winter and we go through the 4 seasons. There's moon cycles, there's tide cycles, right? So we cannot separate ourselves from what's happening out in nature. And in Chinese medicine, they understand this. And so it's almost this concept of as within, so without. So whatever is happening outside in these universal forces is going to affect the core of our very being, whether it's our sleep cycles, our mood, our emotions, whatever it may be. And then also what's happening within our own selves is going to affect those universal forces. So we are constantly together at play, and those two cannot be separated. And so when we think about our own lives, physically and emotionally and spiritually, for me, it is so intuitive to think about these rhythms and these cycles because they're constantly changing. And if we don't bend and sway and change with those, we're going to end up in what we consider to be dis-ease, right? So let's just go through what those 5 elements are really, really quickly. I'm going to start with water. So you can see the little blue bubble on the left of the element chart right over there. Water is the element of the winter time, which we're in right now. So in Chinese medicine, every element corresponds to a particular season, particular organ systems. There are times of the day that that element will peak. It's correlated with weather. There's specific sounds, there's specific colors, there's specific smells, there are specific tastes. Each element governs a certain part of our body apart from the organ. It will govern different sensory systems. There's a time in our life cycle that each element covers. there's energy movement, there's energy quality, and there's focus. Okay, so it's very, very comprehensive. So we're just going to go quickly through those. So let's just look at water, which is the element that we're in right now. So water is the element of winter, right? And it is very deep, it is dark, it is cold. In terms of yin and yang, it is a very yin element, and yin is very inward focused. So it goes very deep, right? It's inward, it goes deep, it's not out there. So winter is the time, if you look outside here in the Northeast, there's snow on the ground. It's the time for us to start to hibernate, right? There's nothing really growing in the fields anymore. Everything's cold, it's covered, it's deep, right? All of those root systems are sleeping right now. Like we should be really resting, right? So if we follow the rhythm of water and what winter wants us to do, now is the time in our life cycle where we go within and we're quiet and we're restoring. The organ systems that are connected to the water element are the kidney, the bladder, and then I'm going to put the adrenals in there too. So in Chinese medicine, the kidneys are our life force, they're our jing, right? And so the way that we replenish our life force is through deep rest. So this is the season for deep rest to restore our living life force and our kidney energy. Okay. Water element goes deep, right? You know, think of water, it's deep, it's dark, it's blue. It flows, right? It doesn't put up resistance. It's easy. Like that's where our lives are right now in wintertime, right? You know, you look at the daily cycle, it is getting dark early at night. Our body rhythms should be relating to that as well. We should be turning out the lights early. We should be getting rest. We should be going to sleep. Water element, our bodies are going to be thriving on things like soups and stocks. The taste associated with this water element is saltiness. So salt provides us minerals that are needed for our kidneys and for our adrenals. Does that make sense? So like that's kind of all this rhythm. So as we're working our way through the water elements that is coming through the winter, our next season that is coming up is springtime. And spring is represented by the element of wood. And the color associated with spring and wood is green, right? And obviously you think about that, right? When springtime comes, the grass starts growing again and everything is green again, right? So there's this correspondence that we see happening out in nature. The organ systems that are correlated with the wood element are our liver and our gallbladder. And our liver and our gallbladder are all about visioning. They're all about growth, right? They're all about coming up after this deep rest and just growing, right? So think about wood, think about a tree, think about a tree coming up out of the ground and just coming up, right? And coming up tall and having this vision of everything that they see, right? Over that canopy and the trees over there. That's what spring is all about. So spring is when our energy really starts to release. And that's when we're planting all of these new seeds. And our energy starts to build and we're like, okay, now I've got it. I've got action. I've rested over the winter. I've laid all the foundations for the things that I want to do. And now it's springtime and I'm going to pop into action. So the flavors associated with the wood element are sour flavors, right? So sour and astringent flavors are going to get our liver and our gallbladder kind of kicking into action. The emotions that are associated with the wood element are kind of like anger and frustration, right? If things aren't going quickly enough for us, we tend to be a little bit edgy. We tend to get a little bit angry. But this is the season of growth. As spring turns into summertime, we move into the fire element. So think of fire element as being, you know, midsummer, high noon, all that heat right above us, right? 12 o'clock, it's like whoosh. And this is where we're like the most active. Fire element is active, it's energetic, it's going, it's going, it's going. The taste associated with this was bitter, the color is red, the emotions basically are like this deep-seated joy or this like we tend to get into like this panic mode where we feel like so incredibly scattered. But fire summertime is the time where we're outside a lot, we're partying, we're burning the candles at both ends, you know, we're with friends all the time. That's the fire energy, right? That we bring into our lives and into our businesses, as we're going to talk about. And then there's actually 5 seasons in Chinese medicine. So Earth is a transitional season. So as we're transitioning out of summer before we get into fall, we're actually in this late summer, the equinox season. So that is considered Earth time in Chinese medicine, and the color is yellow, and that is the season of our digestive organs. So our spleen, our stomach, and then our pancreas is lumped in here as well. And that is all about connecting to the earth and really reaping the benefits of the bounty that the summer has brought us. So we're at the end of our harvest right now. We've got all these, you know, ground, delicious, sweet vegetables on the earth that are going to nourish our spleen, our stomach, and our pancreas. And we're getting ready for this transition time where we're going to get really quiet again into the fall. As we come out of the earth's time, we go into metal, which is our autumn. Metal is all about letting go. This is when the trees start to lose their leaves. You know, we know that we're going into a transition, so it's calling us to let go of things that no longer resonate with us, things that we no longer need to hold on to, whether that's relationships, whether that's old crap in our business, whether that's, you know, stuff in our house, all about decluttering. You know, think of metal and it's very clean lines, right? It's very sparse and clean and organized, and it's all about letting go. And the organ systems related to this are our lungs and our large intestines, which are the organs of letting go, right? So that is just a little bit of a background of the 5 elements and how we're dealing with them, you know, throughout the seasons. So, you know, what I'd like to talk a little bit now is how do we sync our own kind of work rhythms with these cycles, right? And so I'll have to like, I'll be the first to say that I started to feel that hibernation in October for me this fall. It started very early for me this year, that I just wanted to hunker down, right? I was like, you know what? I'm going to let go of all these things that are going to keep me like busy and up at night or whatever. I just felt this need internally that I wanted to just slow down. And so for me, it was actually one of the reasons that I wasn't able to continue on to that 90-day challenge, because I internally couldn't put my energy out there because I was feeling myself going into that hibernation mode. I was already getting ready for like winter quietness. And so for me, that changed the way I did business, because I was becoming more introspective at that point and doing more visioning at that point. So now that we're in winter, I'm wondering, you know, people chime in if you are starting to feel, now that we're in the new year, are you feeling like gangbusters, like I'm ready to go? Or are you feeling like, you know, I'm going to sit with this idea for a little while and just kind of ruminate on it and see what it does. Maybe I'm going to take it to the bath and light some candles and think about it and set some intentions about what I want to do. Like, I'm just curious, like, are people feeling any of that rhythm as they're in their business right now? And what does that look like?
I'm a little of both. So in the new year, I always get like really excited to do things. Like I'm even like redesigning my house and buying new rugs, like, cause I like a clean slate. So I'm revved up, but I do take it slowly. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
because I know if I jump too fast, I'll get burned out.
exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
but I do like, I love the year. I pick a word and I change everything and I move all my furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up for something new.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, you know, I love that too, because like I'm working on the word too, right? And I think I'm like, okay, this year, I think it's really going to be about growth for me. But right now, I'm not ready to go out there and promote all of that growth because I'm still sitting with it. You know, like that's where I am right now. Like I know that that's where it's going, but as we go into spring, that's when the growth happens. So right now I'm sitting, I'm visioning, I'm writing, I'm journaling, I'm quiet and introspective. And I know that in the spring, I'm going to be introducing these new things and that growth is going to start to happen. I'm laying those seeds right now, but I'm not putting all my energy there because quite honestly, I don't have all that energy right now. And that's okay. Right? It's okay. Like when you understand these rhythms, it's like, how are you dividing yourself up? And then what we might see in our work cycle is that, you know, when we're in that fire element phase is like, we just want to be out all the time. There's no rest for us. You know, this is like maybe the networking season. This is when I'm going to be on every Zoom call. This is when I'm going to be driving out to New Jersey and be doing all those in-person events, you know, because that's the season. This is when I want to be connecting. This is when I really want to be around people. This is when I'm going to start collecting everybody's information, you know, and start putting all that stuff away in my Rolodex so that, you know, when I get back and I'm a little bit more quiet again, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I remember connecting with that really great person. They were so much fun. This would be a really great collaboration. I'm going to pull their name out again. Right. And so that might even happen in the fall or in that earth phase that it's like, oh yeah, let me reconnect with that person that I met last month, because it'd be really fun if we can start to think about doing some kind of a big collaborative event for the fall, or, you know, maybe do one event in the winter, or we'll like, you know, pull it together again in the spring. Okay, does that make sense? And then, you know, as we round out the year in our business, you know, it's that really that autumn time that we're like, okay, what's working, what's not working, right? Like our calls, like what worked this year, what didn't work this year. And it's when we start to pull all of that stuff together and we let go of all of those things that didn't work. You know, with this understanding of I now have, you know, these other resources that I can build on, and I'm going to hold on to this and I'm going to hone this. And then that cycle starts all over again, because once we let go of the stuff that's not working, it's that introspective stage of thinking, well, what is it that really worked for me? And then how can I bring that forth again later? Does that make sense? Okay, I'm just going to switch my share here to show you another one. Oops. Wait a second. You know why this isn't coming on yet. Okay, let me see. So stop that and let's see if we can do that again. Here we go. Okay. All right. So, okay, can everybody see this? Okay. Any questions about any of that? Does that kind of make sense? Like looking, you know, seasonally at all those rhythms. Okay. So then the other thing that I want to say is that we also have a daily meridian wheel. So as we're going through all of those cycles and those elements on a yearly kind of basis, we also go through them on a very daily basis. So our bodies are circulating through that. And so that's what this chart kind of shows. Okay. So if you can see, we're going to start. Let's start in the morning, because this, so now we're just going to talk about like how we kind of set up our day that we're working to kind of match the rhythms and the meridian cycle. So let's say that, you know, we're waking up, I don't know, between 6 and 7 a.m. or something, right? So every element and the meridian systems that are corresponding to them have specific times of day that are associated with them. Okay. So if we look at like our 7 to 9 a.m. on the left side of the screen there, that's Earth time. And we're looking at the time of our stomach meridian. So between 7 and 9 is when our stomach meridian is really like on, right? So ideally, this is the time that we're waking up and we are having breakfast, because our bodies are ready to take those nutrients in, take that nourishment in, because our stomach is ready for it. 9 to 11 is the working of our spleen. So our spleen is all about assimilation and metabolism and absorbing and really bringing in everything that we're eating, but it's also about bringing in information, news, information from emails, information from phone calls, right? This is all getting metabolized by our spleen energy. So then we get into fire energy starting at 11 a.m. Our heart meridian kicks in from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's all about, blood circulation. It's about being higher energy and good time to eat lunch, right? At noon. And then our small intestine kicks in between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. And that's when we're absorbing our food and, things are happening. We may have a little bit lower energy. Then we get into our water element from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. So from 3 to 5 is our bladder time. And from 5 to 7 is our kidney time. And again, that's all about restoring and building energy, right? And then we get into another piece of our fire element from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. So from 7 to 9, we have the time of our pericardium, which is our heart protector. And then we have 9 to 11 is our triple warmer, which is basically our fight or flight kind of mechanism, kicks in from 9 to 11. And then when we're sleeping, we get our gallbladder on board from 11 to 1 and our liver on board from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. and our lung from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then our large intestine from 5 to 7. So there's this cycle that happens, right? So what I figured out with this daily cycle in terms of how I do my business and things that might resonate for you is like, if we were to go in sync with this kind of a clock, we might be able to understand our slumps and our energetic spurts during the day a little bit better. And we may also be able to plug in when we do different things in our day to honor this cycle a little bit better. So for example, we're self-employed and, maybe you're really up late. And so you're not somebody who's going to wake up until, like 10 a.m. or something, right? And so you do that. And then you notice like, God, I'm feeling really sluggish today, like nothing I'm eating is sitting right with me. Well, maybe that's because it would benefit you from getting up maybe, 6:30 or something, which is the time of the large intestines. You wake up, good time to meditate, good time to let go what you don't need, move those bowels. 7 o'clock, have a little bit of breakfast, your stomach fire is churning, you digest that really well. And then around 9, you get on the computer and you start to check those emails. Because our spleen's kicking in then, and it's like, oh, now I understand this email that I couldn't understand when I was looking at it at 11 o'clock last night, when I should have had my computer closed because I should have been in bed by then. But I'm going to do this again now because my body's refreshed, my spleen's kicking in. I can metabolize this information a lot better right now. Okay. And you can see like on the chart here, the spleen, it says clear thinking. So you might be thinking a little bit more clearly about things that yesterday made absolutely no sense at all, right? And then it could be that, 12 o'clock kicks in, you get a little hungry, but this might be like, hey, I really want to see people right now. Like maybe I'm going to get on a networking call between 12 and 2 because this is fire time. This is energy time where I'm connecting with people. This is the time I want to connect. This isn't the time that, maybe I don't want to be reading or sending emails or being frustrated about something that's not working right. Like this is my fire time. I want to honor my fire time. I want to have some really fun connections with people, whether they be an NLBP, whether they be, someone I want to connect with that I met somewhere else. This is where I'm going to start doing a little bit of my networking piece right here. Okay. And then we may get a little bit tired, right? So we may get a little bit of those lows. And for me, it usually happens like in bladder time, water element time is that quiet time where we need to regenerate. So if you start to get, a little bit of a slump around there, it might be just honor that. So instead of having your coffee or your chocolate or something sweet to bring in that energy, understand that maybe what you need to do is shut your computer down for 10 minutes, go lie on the couch, hold a couple of points, and take 5 or 10 deep breaths to restore that energy. because it's okay, right? This is all about rhythms. This is all about cycles. This is all about not being tied to our to-do list and feeling like the things that we should be doing when we want to try to come to our business in a different way and really honor ourselves and honor our own cycles. And then see if there's going to be a change in how productive we are, right? How the income starts rolling in, you know, what kind of contacts we're making. So for me, the kidney piece is really important. So I will do that. The other thing that I find really useful is, sorry, my dog's freaking out because the door's closed. Our kidney meridians run from, a meridian runs from the bottom of our feet, just like the ball of our feet. So like right here is our K1 point. So you can even do a little foot massage between 3 and 5, sitting at your computer, you know, if you don't want to close that down, or you're reading something, or you're watching a podcast. Excuse me, 1 second. Just start to massage the bottom of your feet. Go. He's a fire. You can't run with it. And then the other thing is that our kidney meridian actually ends right here under the clavicle at this K27 point. So when you feel like you're in that little slump, you just tap your kidney points. Bring that energy right back up to you. Right? And just take a couple of deep breaths. The other thing that's really fun to do is kidneys also relate to our ears, and there's so many little acupuncture points on our ears. Just give yourself like a little ear massage, right? When you start to feel that slump. So what you're doing, you're just restoring that energy. And then for me, that's it. I mean, I do tend to do a lot of work at night, but I don't like to. Like, I like to be done earlier, right? And so, you know, 6 o'clock, we you know, finish our rhythm. We have dinner, we close our computer, we're done. And then we're into that fire phase again. But that fire phase isn't about all of that connecting anymore. It's now about self-love. Right? It's about coming back home to you. Like, you put yourself out there all day at work. Now we're coming in to like 7, 8, 9, particularly in this water element that we're finding ourselves in winter right now. Really nice time to do all of this. Get a book, go take a bath, light some candles, self-love, light reading. They have sex on here, like whatever, right? Whatever is going to make you feel good. Take care of yourself at that time, and then go to bed. Right? Get to bed 10 o'clock so that your gallbladder and your liver can kick into action when you're fully asleep, and your body can start to detox and start to do some really good repairing so that you don't wake up feeling groggy in the morning again. Questions or comments about that? Does that resonate? Yeah.
This for me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, me too. And I find like when I don't honor it, it just doesn't work, you know, like, or what'll happen is I'll start to do an email at 8 or 9 p.m. and then I'm not tired anymore. And then I can't fall asleep because I'm thinking about that. And then the brain just keeps going and the brain just keeps going, you know, and it's so counterproductive. And so then the next day I'm groggy and my brain doesn't go. So, it just takes some play and it takes some practice.
Yeah.
So
I had heard that if you wake up at certain hours consistently during the night, like you say, it's like 2 a.m. every single night, that is aligned with, so on this thing, it's like a small intestine problem or something you should be concerned about.
Right. Yeah. Or your meridians are active. I know Donna's on this call too, so she can chime in. But so the way the wheel works is we actually have all of these times. So let's just take let's take the 2 a.m. right? So let's take between 1 and 3 a.m. right? So you wake up 2 a.m. all the time and you're like, oh, there's my liver. There's something with my liver, right? I got to work on my liver. I got to work on my liver. Well, that's when your liver is is really is on basically, right? Or those hours. So that's the strong time for those livers. But if you look directly across the wheel to the 2 p.m., the opposite of that is 1 to 3 p.m. is small intestine. So your small intestine is kind of at its weaker energy between 1 and 3 a.m. Does that make sense? So if you're waking up at 2 a.m., it could be, oh, maybe your liver is a little bit overactive, right? And you want to work on that wood element, or there's something, you know, you want to strengthen the small intestine, or you know, take energy away from the small intestine, whatever, right? It's cut and dry kind of, and then not so cut and dry because there's all those other pieces too, because it is, you know, this flow wheel, or you know, whatever. And then, you know, a lot of people right now I hear are waking up like 3:30 and they're saying like, oh, that's like the spiritual time, right? And they're being called to sit and meditate. So that's what, you know, meditation like is great between 3 and 5 a.m. But I've never done it. I've never gotten up to do it.
I'd like to say that sleeping is also great between 3 and 5.
Yes, that's what I
those
believe
are
as
people
well.
that if you don't know how to clear your stuck lung energy, I guess you may as well meditate as a way to do it, right?
Right. Right.
But you should be focusing on grief and loss, and
Yeah.
that's probably part of it.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this. And then what we're going to do now is talk about the characteristics of each of the elements as they relate to our own personalities, so that you guys can discover who you are. And so, you know, there's the 5 elements, and we each carry a part of each of those elements in us, right? And so it's a cycle, right? And so we flow. And so there are days that you might be predominantly more water, and days that you might be predominantly more wood, right? And then in a year that's going to change. I mean, so things change, but predominantly we have an element, like a primary element, and then a secondary element. And so it'll be fun to kind of figure out what our elements are. Do you guys want to figure those out? Okay, so everybody have pen and paper? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. So we're gonna start with the water element, okay? So just think of water, right? And think of yourself. I'm just gonna try and give you some characteristics here. So waters, right? This is a water. Waters are undulating and they're flowing as if they're swimming in water. They sometimes look like they're walking in a processional or perhaps in a bit of a dream. Waters cannot be hurried. They move slowly as if being pulled closer to the earth by gravity. Their voice may be watery, may sound a bit babyish, adorable, or precious. It might also sound a bit groany, breathy, or sexy. Body type is female waters often have long flowing tresses, or they look like they should. Both men and women have a tendency towards being thin or willowy if they are strictly water elements. Waters, when they're in balance emotionally, tend to feel very hopeful, right? When they're out of balance, the emotions that they go to are hopelessness and fear. Okay, so I'm going to read you about water, and you just, so write water on your paper, and then I'm going to give you some things. And so if this resonates with you, just put a mark next to this. So number 1 is, I yearn for meaning to experience on this earth. So if that resonates with you, put a 1, a 1 next to that. The next one is, I suspect people and their secrets and do not want my secrets exposed. If that resonates with you, put a check. The next one is, I am very introspective and can pull deep into myself and cut off from the world. The next one is ideas more than people stir my soul. The next is fear is the emotion that disables me the most. I tend to believe that the world is a dangerous place and one needs to be careful. It takes me a while to really trust someone. Okay. All right, maybe not so many waters. Okay, those were our water questions. All right, so just, we'll tally those up. And now we're just going to go around the wheel, and now we're coming into spring. And everybody remember what the next element is after after water, we come into springtime, green trees.
Wood.
Yeah, wood. Okay, so here's our wood. Okay, so woods, right? Okay, woods have a vision. Woods are quick staccato steps, but they're also grounded as if rooted to the earth. They like to move quickly with few detours. They often make a beeline towards a goal without looking from side to side. A wood body can be stiff or just efficiently poised for the greatest locomotion. Woods push off the earth with each step and tend to walk more on their toes rather than the whole of their foot. They may try to set the pace of a conversation, a walk, or an activity. Woods often speak with a tone of authority and self-confidence, speaking quickly and to the point. They may resemble a tree trunk in their body structure, solid and sturdy. They usually have an upright carriage rather than more curvy. Okay, so those are woods. When woods are in balance, they are visionaries. They get things done, right? Our liver, sees the vision, and our gallbladders, they get it done organ. But when we're out of balance, there's lots of anger and lots of frustration. Okay, so here come your wood questions. All right, if these resonate with you, put a check next to these. I am very assertive and clear about where I stand. I can marshal my intellect and my vision can lead others. I am bold and decisive. I am fiercely independent. I enjoy organizing and structuring any situation. I get muscle tightness or tension because wood element and liver is all about our muscles and our ligaments. When someone is obviously being treated unfairly, I stand up for the oppressed. Wonder if we have more woods here. All right, those are all our woods, so we'll tally those up. Okay, and then our next element that we go into in summertime is fire. Fire, fire, fire. All right, so fire is all about the energy. So fires have a bouncing, skipping, joyous step, often with bursts of speed. It's exuberant, expressive, they're radiant. They may take multiple detours, pulled here and there by whatever catches their attention, going after the shiny little objects. Fires are lively and responsive to their surroundings. They love laughing, they're animated, expressive, sometimes with sighs and extra sounds thrown in for emphasis. Fires often have thin legs and a body that lifts up. They may have a strong flair for the dramatic, and they often use their hands to help express their thoughts. Their face can appear lit from within. So those are fires. All right, and you got your pen and paper ready? Here's our first fire question. Feeling panic is very familiar. I am spontaneous, optimistic, and energetic. I am a very passionate person. I laugh or giggle a lot. I often get tongue-tied or mix up my words. I love safe, heartfelt contact with others. If my close relationships are not stable, I am not stable. So that's fire. All right, good. Moving on to the next element here. We're coming into earth. So just think about Mama Earth and think about what an earth element person may be like. So earths are very earthy, very grounded, very giving, very nurturing. They have a lyrical step, like a deer prancing. They move slowly and deliberately, taking their own space very deliberately. They like a beginning, a middle, and an end to all of their movements. They do not like to be rushed. Their voice is musical, full of inflections, may actually burst into song or be found humming unconsciously. They may resemble the sing-song sound some adults use when speaking to a baby. Earths are often rounded, fleshy, well-fed earth mamas, stable and balanced. And so an earth in balance has compassion and care for everyone, including themselves. You know, you think of an earth, are you okay? Do you need something? Did you have enough to eat? Can I get you a blanket? Right? But an earth that's out of balance is, can I get you anything else? Can I get you anything else? Because I'm so friggin' exhausted. I'm going to die if I need to get you one more thing, right? It's like we're giving, that we're not really taking anything in and receiving for ourselves. So those are earths. And here is your questionnaire about earth. I find myself in the middle a lot. I am naturally compassionate and supportive. I love spending time with my family, and I am the hub of family or social networks. Everyone confides their secrets or stories to me. I would never humiliate anyone publicly. Activities like cooking, music making, gardening, homemaking, sewing, woodworking, and crafts are very important to me. I have some problems in balancing the needs of others with my own. That's earth. And then our last element is our metal element, right? The time of autumn. So think of metal, think organized. Metals walk with a regal grace and an inner stillness, as if a string is pulling them up, making them very straight. Some metals can, however, seem a bit gawky or uncoordinated, like a young fawn. They may walk as if their mind is in something else. Their voice is low, almost weeping in its tones, or clear like the sound of a well-tempered bronze bell. Their speech is reflective, thoughtful, economic, and deliberate. Metals are often thin, or if not thin, they have long, elegant arms and legs, long fingers, graceful hands. They may have a stiff or an upright carriage. And here are metal questions. I tend to be neat and orderly in my personal surroundings. I put virtue and principles before fun. I like tasks that require a systematic, logical, and analytical problem solving. Integrity and excellence are extremely important to me. I hunger for what seems to be an unattainable spiritual connection. I take pride in being efficient and methodical. I appreciate it if I can do more and be better than others. And that is our quiz. So then I'll just ask you to go back to each of those elements and tally them up and see what you come up with your highest numbers in. Michelle, you have something?
I love this, Annmarie. I think this was really fun, and I seem to have the most that marks for fire.
Nice.
So I guess I'm
Nice.
fire.
Do you have a secondary?
I think it is probably earth or metal.
Nice.
Anyway,
Does that make sense to you and how you live your life?
well, the fire definitely does.
Yeah.
And the I guess I didn't concentrate as much on the second one. It's just the fire one is and I love, and I also thought of other people that I know as soon as I heard certain characteristics that they just come up, oh,
Right.
that's that person,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This one person speaks really slow and does everything really slow. And my sister once told me a story where she tried to hurry her, and they were supposed to go to a ballet, and they never got there on time because the woman just slowed down so much. She said, "I'll never go with her any place again." Anyway, it's interesting.
It's so interesting. That's great. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else have their? Donna says she's an earth.
I'm more than one.
Yeah,
Like
great.
I saw myself in some of them.
Yep.
I was very high in wood and almost equally high in earth.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a wood. I'm the same. I'm earth and wood, but I noticed that I'm earth in dealing with clients and, I don't know, like more earth in my business.
Okay.
I'm wood in more of my personal relationships, like with my husband. Like, why can't you see that? Can't you see that? I'm like, why is that so hard? But also like, but then there's the visionary piece, right? So that makes so much sense for you, Camille, too. Like the wood is the vision,
Yeah.
right? And the goal and doing that, but you're
Yeah.
also holding this huge community, which is so earth. Yeah. Very cool.
Cool.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I suppose it would be no surprise to most people that I'm metal. I was actually tied. I was as far as like the tallies go. I was actually tied in metal and earth, and pretty high in wood. But what was interesting about metal is that the question was organized in my personal space, and that wasn't always the case. That was actually the start of what I do. Is that I've always been super organized at work, but not always at home. And that was something that became very important to me. So I was like, oh, there was a time that would not have been true. But it is now important for me to have the order and the structure and things like that. But it's fascinating because I can also see how either certain times of the year or personal versus professional, like my, obviously energy changes or focus changes. And so it's like taking into consideration season, personal, professional, like different components or elements of what of me, but definitely in tune with all of them. So super fascinating stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Annmarie, is there a way that you could email me like these things and the questions and also the explanations, or where I could find that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I should mention, which I forgot to at the beginning, that the information, these questions that I'm taking is actually from Donna Eden's work, Eden Energy Medicine, the way she describes the 5 rhythms and the personalities. And so I think what I can do is forward you, she has these questionnaires online, so I can forward that out. Yeah, I'll put it on the NLBP page for sure. Yeah, another thing that is so interesting to me, like, we'll know this about ourselves, right? And what our element is and how we're going about our business. But then also, if we're looking to hire a VA or we're looking to hire an employee, like having this understanding, like Michelle, you were just saying, like, okay, I'm a fire, I'm a metal, and I'm organized and I'm a go-getter. Maybe I don't want a VA that's a complete water, that's just like, well, okay, I'll get this done for you. And like, that's not going to be a good match, you know? And so if you do end up hiring that person, it's understanding that element and then working around that so that you can make things flow literally without either of you getting frustrated. And Donna says maybe a water shouldn't be a VA. Absolutely. But yeah, you know, so I don't know. I think it's kind of a fun way, and it's helped me to, like I was saying, because I find my personal relationships and my business relationships are different. You know, they're different the way I deal with people. So understanding that about myself, and then understanding also how you present things, right? And so the other thing that I know about metals is they, you know, because I deal with a lot of metals too. And so it's a lot of like logic. And so if I'm predominantly wood, I don't want to deal with the details, right? Like, this is the vision, like, no, this is it. This is just it, right? But a metal is like, well, what's the first step I need to do for that? And then what do I need to do? And then what do I need to do? And then what do I need to do? And I'm like, my mind's not going there. You know, I can't do that. You know, this is just the vision, and boom, there it is. And I'm not looking to either side. So then as a wood, like, I need to nurture my metal a little bit, you know, to take those steps and do those things. Right. So it's just all like a little learning process to be able to do that. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Donna, did you?
When you say nurture your metal, what would that look like?
Like slowing down a little, you know, like just slowing down before getting to the end goal, you know. So the vision is like, boom, I want to do that. And it's like, well, great. And I have to say that Gail has helped me with this, because I've done, you know, her workshops of taking those simple steps, right? Like, that's not how I think. So I needed to like stop, get some help, nurture my metal, and be like, okay, this is my end goal, but this is what I need to do before I get there. Because I wasn't doing that, because it's not in my wheelhouse, so to speak. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But luckily we have resources of people who do a little bit of everything that we can reach out to when we need that help. So yeah. That was
It's a much more spiritual version of I think of a practice that I used to work at, or that I was with for a very short period of time, and they used to do the disc assessment, the direct, or the you know, the different. They did it for people when they came in to work or partner with them, but they also did it, they had clients do it, or patients or people do it, so that they could get a sense of the personalities. And this is a much gentler, much more spiritual, much more elemental, obviously, way to look at it. So I really, really like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too. It's fun. Yeah, it's less analytical. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you so much. So do you want to end with a little energy medicine exercise? Okay, so there are exercises that you can do for each of the elements to kind of hone all of those elements, but some of them involve getting on the floor and standing and doing all of these things. But I think kind of one of the nicest ones that we can do is something for the fire element, which is called taking down the flame. And again, this is from Donna Eden's work, but it's really about, fire, right? We're all about that energy. And so fire is a very yang energy. So it's very expansive. So it goes up. And so what we're going to do is just take down that energy and just bring it down into our body. And so easy way that we can do it, we're just going to have our open hands, and we're just going to take our hands up, and we're going to create a little diamond, you know, whatever. And we're just going to bring it up, and we're going to come up to the top of our head, and each element also has a sound associated with it. And the sound of fire is like HA. So we're going to make that sound as we go through. So we're just going to take our hands up. We're going to put our hands right on our crown chakra, and we're just going to go. Deep inhale in. We're going to bring that to our third eye. Inhale it to our throat chakra. Inhale it to our heart chakra and exhale. Bring it right down to our belly button. We're going to curl our hands down this way, put our thumbs in our belly button and our hands down and release. Then we're just going to take the palms of our hands and we're going to run down the front of our thighs as we're releasing all the way down to our feet. And that's it. And that's something I find myself doing a lot when that fire energy gets really like explosive and you feel scattered, right? Fire is about feeling scattered, and it just kind of helps center that energy into all the chakras and just release it into the ground. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for doing our community share. It was really awesome.
It's fun. Thank you.
Yeah. It'll take a little bit, but it'll go in our learning resource center, and then it'll also be released to YouTube.
Cool.
You'll be tagged.
Thank you so much.
All right.